everyone, welcome to Melancholy Coaching Podcast. Join me as I interview inspiring business owners and self-improvement seekers while exploring business building, monetizing ideas and practical takeaways. Let's ignite our creative potential together. Hello and welcome to Melancholy Coaching Podcast, the show that highlights different business owners and ideas. I'm Fran, your NLP and Business Coach, and I'm intrigued to introduce a motivational guest. Mum of two, Nicola, founded Film Your Face to help small business owners show up confidently and professionally on video without overthinking. Calm, practical, and confidence first, her work is designed for people who know that video matters, but they feel stuck, unsure, or self-conscious on camera. Alongside this, she also runs Film Your Family, which supports parents to capture their family stories. So, Nicola, welcome to the show.
Hi. Hello. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I've got a couple of questions for you, and we'll have a chat around that if that's okay with you. So the first one that I'm curious to know is what inspired you to create Film Your Face?
Okay, so I'll try not to get too deep in the backstory, but so I was a film teacher. So I taught in college for about 20 years, near enough. So sort of the 16 plus, so college, university students, really practical filmmaking. We did a lot of documentary, and it's all this, we show up as ourselves and we tell our stories. When I had my eldest daughter, that was 2019, and then in 2020, while I was on maternity leave, the world changed. So we think a lot, don't we, about we change as people when we have a child. It wasn't me that changed. It was the world I went back to after maternity leave. Whilst I was off, I obviously all the baby groups stopped. So I did an online course for photography. Of course, teaching film. I'm a reasonable photographer. I knew what it was, but I wanted the community side of it. And I did learn heaps actually. And so I started thinking, well, this doesn't exist for video. So nobody's teaching parents how to get really great videos of their kids. So maybe I could do that. Maybe, if I go back to work part-time, perhaps with the little one, and then I can do the two things. And so I started setting that up. And then when I was pregnant with my second child, I filmed it all, had it all ready to go. And then, my goodness, she was a Velcro baby. So for me to do anything practical was really difficult. So what I started doing was the business learning side while she was small, and joining lots of groups and talking to business people. And I really quickly realized that families, we love getting nice videos of our kids, but we don't get it, oh well. Business owners, we need it. We need to be showing up on camera all the time. And a lot of people hesitate and they think, oh, it's because I'm not confident. But actually, sometimes you don't know why it doesn't look the way you want it to look, or why it doesn't sound the way you want it to sound. And that's not because you're not practiced or you don't know what your business is. Most people can talk about their businesses for hours. It's more, how do you get that video looking right, sounding right, and how will that fill you with confidence? So I started my family business in September, and within 2 weeks went, right, face, here you go, business owners, come and do a free view of me. Let's do it. So it was quite it took me about 4 years to get Film Your Family started, and then 2 weeks to get Film Your Face
because
started.
they're kind of complementary services, but actually quite different, aren't they? That you
And
offer.
I'm teaching the same skills, except Film Your Family. I say do this because it's, preserving your family memories on all your screens. And then Film Your Face, I say do this because it's all for social media. But, the fundamentals of filmmaking haven't changed in 100 years, you know. So it's, if you can learn how to light something properly, if you can ensure that your sound, people can hear you, and there's not distractions and things like that. It's just these tiny little things. But why would anybody know that? Because unless you've been to film school,
Yeah,
you've
but
never been taught it.
even then, because obviously
Yeah.
I do this podcast and I don't
Yeah.
mind being on camera. I don't have qualms about that at all.
Mhm.
However, anybody watching this as the video version, which goes out on YouTube, I wear a headset because they're noise cancelling. I live on a main road. I've tried every form of microphone and it just does not work for me. Um, so I've had
Yeah.
to adapt, and this is why I go with this style. So potentially sometimes it could it also be that yes, you know, it's about the sound, but
Mm,
what sound? How do they want to sound? What can they use? And then that could
yeah.
potentially be a tech issue, maybe. Do you go into that as well?
Yeah, so on my kind of flagship course, so I have a foundations course called Lift. We That's all the stuff we look about, and it's very much what can you control versus what can't you control. So I don't
Yeah.
know if you can hear. I just had a couple of tractors pass me, and I can hear it, and it's distracting me. But I've actually moved my entire desk setup around so that my microphone is now facing the wall, not the window.
Yeah.
And also the
So
window, I'm slightly better lit on this side because I'm facing the window there, rather than it being behind me and making the wall behind me really bright.
there's
So
little tweaks
it's
like
these
that, isn't
little
it?
tiny tweaks because sometimes the easiest thing to do is move ourselves. And then
Um,
it makes it so
uh,
actually a really fun little thing. I get people to when we do a live course, is I get to say, get your phone, put your front facing camera on, and I want you to spin around, do a 360 spin. And when the light is nice, that's where you record.
now,
And
see,
you'd be amazed, even in a room with no windows, you'd be amazed the difference
the
depending on
light,
where the light is coming from.
some of this potential going through to the next bit that I'm curious
Yeah,
about. So I
yeah,
want to
sorry.
ask you. So thinking about the work that you do,
Okay. Mm,
what would you recommend to someone who knows that video is important? So they know it matters, but they feel self-conscious on
yeah.
camera.
So, do you know, actually, I think one of those isn't perhaps a really technical skill, it's a building up skill. So, some of us, we work really well. You drop us in a deep end, and yeah, we're good. Other people, that completely puts you off. You have one bad experience doing something crazy like going live,
Yeah,
and you think, I'm never doing video again. And I always say, like, going live, it's like the equivalent of going on the motorway. Okay, your first driving lesson, do something small. So my big suggestion is often if you're talking about say Meta, so like Facebook and Instagram, do a
yeah,
story. It's a video story, it's up there for 24
that's
hours,
good.
and then it's gone. And a lot of us think, oh, it's only there for 24 hours. Why should I put all the effort into it? But actually, I mean, realistically, any post you put out on social media, how long is it there for? Really?
But some of that as
People
well.
aren't seeing it in their threads. They could see it if they come to your page, and I appreciate
Yeah,
that is useful, having that grid there that shows you are who you say you are and that you're trustworthy, and that's what video is fantastic for. Because unless you're using like an AI clone of yourself, video it's you, isn't it? It's what you look like, what you
but then
sound
even with that, what you've just said, it does depend slightly depending on what platform you're using. So
like.
Instagram, for
Yeah,
example, you can build highlights from your stories.
You
So
can.
therefore, it is still evergreen content that you're creating.
Yeah,
And also the any stories that you create, your videos that you're creating, go into the archive and you can
yeah,
pull it back up, can't you? So
absolutely. Yeah. So you never lose that. It's
you
always
don't lose
there.
it.
And you could go, 6 months in, oh, actually, I want to put together, yeah, a highlight reel of say I make mugs. So we go of all my mugs.
Yeah,
I get the stories of all my mugs. Wonderful. There you go, and you put
yeah.
them all together then. So you don't lose it completely. So that is a
Mm.
really useful way. And I do think that's what tends to work, I find, with a lot of people. If they are nervous about it, it's not as scary as doing a reel. It's not as scary as doing a live.
I'm going to throw something at
Go
you
for it.
now because
Yeah,
I feel like it's the right time
yeah.
and place to do it. Just out of interest,
Mhm.
myself, for example, I'm a very messy and perfect action person. I will just do.
Yeah.
So I put myself out there on YouTube. I put myself out there on stage because I'm
Yeah.
also a burlesque performer. I just do
Mhm.
it. Okay. So if somebody's like me, because there's going to be other
Mm.
people like me, what
Yeah.
would you advise to, without judgment,
Hmm.
um, what would you advise to just polish up that messy and perfect action a bit?
Okay. Oh, that's a really good one. And I think there's lots of different ways to be messy.
Yeah. Because again,
So
if
say
that's
you're
part of your
confident, yeah.
brand or your
You're happy
vibe
doing,
or
yeah,
yeah,
you're happy doing camera.
yeah,
I think there are a few different things that you could do. So one would be learning those fundamentals of filmmaking.
yeah,
Because if you if you have the light nice, if you have the sound good, then it's just really what you're saying. So for me, I know I can talk. I've been teaching this for a very long time. And if in a situation like this, you say, tell me about something, I will happily talk about it for a very long time. But if I'm doing a reel, and I know a reel, maximum of 3 minutes, on some accounts, if
Yeah.
you're 90 seconds, for me, and I probably could do something concisely, what I'll do is I'll write it down first and then I'll put it into a teleprompter. There's a
Right.
free
I
one
get
on the
you.
Edits app, which I really rate. It's really good. And I'll read it through. And it will take me a few goes, don't get me wrong, but it takes me less time than it would to talk for 20 minutes and then try and edit myself down afterwards, which is very difficult.
Yeah.
Especially
No,
when
I
you're
like
talking.
that
So
because
I
I'm.
think that's a really good one. If you're messy in your, which I am,
Mm.
the way I express myself, that's a good way. So script yourself first, but use a teleprompter.
I do, because I'm completely transparent about all the stuff that I do. So for the
Yeah.
podcast, I do use a teleprompter and I reference
Yeah.
it on occasion because even though I know what I want to say and I know what I want to convey, quite often I get distracted and the words go because that can happen,
Yeah.
can't it? Even when
Oh,
we know our
absolutely.
message and we know what it
Mm.
is that we want to do,
Yeah.
you can go blank, can't you? And you
Yeah, yeah.
know,
Well, you either go one of two ways. You go blank, you lose your train of thought,
or
or you
maybe
go
chatter
off on
too
a
much.
tangent.
Yeah,
And then I'm supposed to be talking about, a tip, and now I'm talking about how I taught, and it all connects. But on a live like this, that's great, so long as you do get through all questions. But for a reel or a story where they're very short and
yeah,
perhaps so it's useful to know as well, stories are going to your warm audience. So they're people already in your world that follow you or see your stories. But a reel is generally a discovery tool. So it's being pushed out further. So
yeah.
for me, it's normally about 80 to 90% people that don't know me see my reels.
So
And
what I'm
that is something we
hearing,
just don't think about. So we think, oh, I'm putting out this and my followers will see it, but actually it might be people that have never seen you before. So being concise in that
yeah,
can be quite important if you're trying to, as a business owner, you're trying to bring somebody in your world ultimately to sell to them, aren't you? Let's not beat about the bush. That's our end goal, is that we are trying to do that.
yeah, we
Now,
want to we want to nurture them and we want to warm them up
absolutely.
and yeah, we
Yes.
want
And
to
I think
offer our services.
Yeah, so I think that's why video is a fantastic way to do that because what you're selling effectively is yourself. You're saying, come and get to know me,
Mm.
elements about me, whether that's personal, and it's fine to share some elements of your life. It doesn't need to be all of it, whether that's how I work, what I do within my work. Um, and somebody might see that and think, oh, that was funny. I liked that. I'll follow along. And then the hope is they'll stay with you and
Yeah.
then when they're ready to buy, if they are the right client for you, that they already like and trust you because they've seen those videos. Um, it would be different perhaps for somebody selling like a product, but for us where we're selling ourselves, if somebody comes to us as a cold audience, purchases, and then has us talk to them and goes, I don't like her. Everybody's lost in that situation, haven't we? Because
So
they give
so
bad
what
reviews, they don't recommend us. But if they've seen videos of us, and they see that I wave my hands around and they think I like that, not, oh my
yeah.
God, I can't concentrate. I'd rather they made that decision before investing their time and their money in me
So
because
what
they're
I'm
not going
here
to
what
be
I'm
paid.
hearing from what you're saying is the
Yeah,
person doing the video, it's the intention of what that video
yeah,
is for and the platform on which it's going to be used or where it's going to be repurposed.
yeah,
And then for the consumer of the video, they're either going to be our ideal audience or not.
yeah. Or not,
And that's
exactly.
okay
And that,
because
yeah,
that potentially could be down to what our intention is and where we're using the video. That could need an adjustment, couldn't it?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well done. I think you've summarized that really nicely.
I was listening to what you said.
Good, good. There we go. I get there in the end.
Right, my next curiosity
Go
thing
on.
is what's next for you?
At the moment, I'm working on B-roll. So people
Interesting.
know what I mean by B-roll. And this is a really interesting one, actually, because a lot of the words we're using on social media, they
Mm,
had a meaning in the film world, and that meaning has kind of changed now, which is okay. So B-roll, what I'm talking about is any type of video that isn't this. This isn't me talking to camera.
Yeah.
And it's a lot easier to do because doing videos where we talk to camera, this is why I've got a whole course on it. It's challenging. You've got to think about all these different things and they've all got to work at the same time. Whereas B-roll's a bit more relaxed. So rather than me going, hi, I'm Nicola and I run Film Your Face, it might be I've got a camera kind of here capturing this. And it's like, oh, I was on a podcast today talking about this.
Right.
And it's
Okay.
the same message, but it's much easier to receive visually with
Yeah.
just perhaps a little caption, giving it some meaning, giving it some context, and ideally some kind of call to action. So, oh, now you can click on this link and go to the podcast and you can watch it. So there's movement
Mm.
in that. So B-roll, I think, is actually really powerful and really underused. And a really nice way to think about it is if you take a photograph,
Yeah.
could you do that as a video? Because then it's discovery. So you post that photograph and it goes to your followers. But if you post that same photograph as a video, it's a discovery tool and it goes out. Okay,
I
doesn't that
like
help?
that. That's quite a lot
Yeah,
to
it is.
unpack with that
It
as
is.
well, isn't it? And
It
it's
is.
interesting as well that you've
Yeah.
referenced the terminology that's used because not
Mm.
everybody's in the world of understanding what
No.
currently the term B-roll is used for.
Yeah. And I've been talking about doing this for a few months, and I've either had people go, oh, yes, I need that. Please do that. Or they've gone, what's it? I'm
Yeah.
kind of afraid to ask at this point because everybody talks about it and everybody means something slightly different. And we do mean something slightly different because none of us are using the term correctly. And I've got a whole blog on it if you are interested in what B-roll meant in filmmaking, in documentary filmmaking. But it's,
Yeah, no,
kind of irrelevant because
that's
it's not what we
interesting.
mean on social media.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting in itself because
Yeah.
even some of the apps that are tools in which you
Yeah.
can edit or chop down long
Mm.
form video into short form, they've got B-roll options.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm now wondering in
Go
what
on.
sense they mean it, in what context
So
that's meant.
if you can imagine a documentary, so say this isn't a podcast, this is a documentary that we're making
Yeah,
about us. You've got us having our interview. But to watch me with my white background, as wiggly and interesting as I am, would be very boring on its own. So B-roll is something you put over top. So if I'm talking about the live I did earlier, maybe we would cut to a shot of me doing my live with my computer in shot. And that is the B-roll. So the A roll is me talking. That's the message.
yeah.
That's the important information that we hear um, orally or we read. And then the B roll is the visual story, it's the explanation. And
So,
storytelling is fun.
so
Yeah.
again, this is within context, isn't it? It has to be
Yeah.
within that sort of specific
Yeah.
context. Um, what you was
Mm.
originally saying about B-roll in the way that you're kind of teaching people how to use it, I feel like that's going to be a really lovely know, like, and trust thing.
Yes,
The B-roll is
that's
it's more
exactly it.
nurturing, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also getting people thinking about it simply because we do tend to
Mm.
overthink video in a way that
Oh,
we
of
don't
course.
overthink photos. And we think things like, okay, so me, I've said I'm a mum of two kids. That's important. But I don't need to show my children to
Yeah.
show I'm a mother. And so it's how can we show these visual stories? How can we tell these stories without being really direct, really in your face with it? And we can do things subtly, and audiences are clever. So there's
Yeah.
ways we can do that, ways we can tell a story without
Yeah.
having to cross
And without
boundaries, which is where people
over.
get
Yeah.
worried because they think, oh,
Yeah.
I've got to share my home life, things which are separate to my business, but you don't.
Because
You,
that would
you can
be
be,
like an overexposure of
yeah,
ourselves, wouldn't it? Our personal life.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand.
yeah.
There's a lot of things, isn't there, that come into potentially things being scary, and our brain
Yeah.
loves to hold evidence of things. So it's going to
Mm,
remind you of all those scary things as well. Um,
absolutely.
you
Yeah.
know, unless
Yeah.
you've got somebody like you that can just very gently explain it,
Yeah.
and um, I'll give you a
Mm.
slight example of this, and then I'm going to start wrapping this up.
Okay.
Um, Ages ago, it was not long after TikTok first
Yeah.
started. I put on a video on there, and I was just throwing videos on there. I don't use it with any particular intent. In all honesty, it's mainly
Mhm.
to consume other
Yeah.
people's. creations. I put a video up that when I woke up to it, it had loads and loads of likes. It had gone viral. It had all sorts of comments on it. And I looked, and I kid you not, safely without breaking it, I threw my phone. I
Yeah.
threw it down onto my rug because in that split second of instant, I was too overwhelmed to
Yeah.
comprehend what had happened, and I didn't know what to do. So
Yeah.
we all think like, oh, we'd love all the comments, we'd love, but
Mm.
actually, I've had a reality experience of that, and it frightened me. I didn't like it,
Mm.
and I didn't enjoy it, and it made me very conscious of not wanting that to happen again.
Yeah.
So what did I want to happen? So what did I want to happen? So it's kind of
Yeah.
led through a big thought process of what was I actually putting videos out for, and what
Mm.
kind of audience did I want to get from it.
Yeah.
Um, it ended up with a rather number of unkind comments as well, which, it's fine. We're all going to deal with that with being online in one way or another. But at that particular time, the combination of it being viral, of it having loads of comments, of it going everywhere, it had gone kind of to other countries, and it was too overwhelming.
Yeah.
So somebody who's interested in video and interested in creating video for either their family or for their business,
Yeah.
um, you can come in with that, and it also helps with the overwhelm, doesn't it? Because you can explain things within the intention that they want to use it and within the context that it's going to be for, to
Yeah.
help with that overwhelm.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. If I got time to give you a silly example,
Yeah, go on.
go on. So
Just gave you one.
I've got a video I did not that long ago, maybe about a month ago, where I've got a hot cake pan and I've got oven gloves and I'm trying to
Yeah.
get it out, and then I throw away the oven gloves and I use my fingers and it's too hot, so I get the oven gloves back. And it's had about 500,000 views on TikTok, and on my personal Instagram and Facebook about 100,000 on each of those. And part of my brain goes, oh, I want to share this on all my channels because it's doing so well and it's getting me loads of followers. I'm still getting followers every day on my personal profile from Facebook, which we like. We get the dopamine thing. We think, oh, people are coming to me. But do you know what?
I
If
love
they're
it.
not small business owners who want to do video, how
Yeah.
is it helping me? If they think I'm a comedian, that's what I
It would
think
be
I'm
growing
funny.
growing the
But
wrong
yeah, I'm
audience.
growing the wrong audience with those. So I
Yeah.
I haven't posted it on my Film Your Face channel. It's actually gone on another channel I've got about baking. So I'm setting up the socials for a cake shed I've opened with my neighbor and having a really fun time doing product-based videos, just because everything I've done's been more service-based so far. So that's great, but it's not
Mm.
going to help anyone come to our road and buy cake. It could help us in the future if we sell recipes, but right now, that video doing so well. It's great if
I've
the school mum sees it, tells me she's seen it, and then I say, oh, brilliant, come and buy a cake from me. That can work. So it's not like it was useless doing it, but we think, oh, I want all the views, but actually,
Yeah, and I've did it again
yeah,
recently, not with going viral, but I
yeah,
put out a video that was literally just out of context of what I usually do, because I'd gone
yeah.
to a gig with my daughter,
Oh,
and I filmed
lovely.
part of it,
Yeah,
and because it was lovely. Not us,
yeah,
I filmed the artist,
mm,
put it out on
yeah,
Instagram, and it went bigger than anything else I normally do. And I'm like, okay, well, that's lovely, but it's not going to do anything else for me, is it?
no, no.
So again, it's
And I wouldn't
intention,
say
isn't
don't
it?
do it, because if you're sharing
Yeah,
a part of your life that you feel
yeah,
comfortable with, that's still okay. But yeah, I think the end goal we tend to think should always be about, oh, how many followers am I getting? How many views am I getting? But really, exactly what you said earlier, what we want to do is for people who are in our world, we want them to like us, trust us,
yeah.
know that we're
So
real.
this,
We're
so this
real
particular
people, not
one.
AI spam bots.
This
That's
particular one
key.
kind of acts almost like a bit of an anchor for me. So it was a
Mm,
lovely time with my daughter. It's reminded me of a
yeah,
time when I felt good, and people are enjoying it.
yeah.
So I've kind of left it on there because I'm using it like a feel good,
Yeah. It's
like a
not
feel
doing
good
any
anchor.
harm.
It's not doing any harm.
No, I
Yeah,
think something we hear quite a lot, don't we, as small business owners is, oh, we've got to be content creators. But a content creator is a different job. A
different job.
content
Yeah.
creator wants views and wants follows, and then they want brands to sponsor them to show their products. That's not what most of us are doing. Maybe it'd be a nice side hustle, but it's not our why we set up our
The
business
main
for most of
focus.
it.
Yeah, I
It's
understand.
always
Right.
getting back to that client. It's not who we are, it's who we're talking to.
So thank you.
Went on.
I feel like we could go down just carry on down this rabbit hole. But
Yeah.
thank you, Nicola, for sharing your practical
Thank
wisdom.
you.
Um, you, your approach as well, because it's interesting. You
Mm.
know, it's something that we don't necessarily think about, that it can be done in a way that suits you and suits your family and what you want to share. So, you know, you can take the fear out of it. And I feel like you're very passionate about it as well.
I am, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
which is lovely. So
Yeah.
you're helping business owners and families bring their stories to life, aren't you? So, you know, that's a lovely thing to get
Yeah.
passionate about. For those of you interested in learning more about Nicola and her work, you're on Facebook as Film Your Face.
Hmm. Yeah.
Instagram is Film Your
Yeah.
Face as well.
Hmm.
Okay. So, and if you're interested in more content like this is where I plug myself. Be sure to visit www.melancholymentor.com. Follow us for the latest updates, and the latest podcast goes on there as well. And until next time, stay curious, keep igniting your creative potential, and go and find Nicola at Film Your Face, and not me for viral videos. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. I'd love you to subscribe and visit www.melancholymentor.com for the latest updates. Until next time, stay curious and keep igniting your creative potential.